Hey guys, it's Keith. It's become very apparent to me over the last few months that I need to be focusing my efforts toward uh, creating content about geography and travel, and to bring my art and photography and political thoughts perhaps into that more narrowly defined space. A lot of people ask me about LA, especially, also Berlin, California in general, um, travel in general, like where to go, how to orient yourself, where to stay, how much time you need, et cetera, et cetera. And I need to be focusing on that. At the same time, we're living through a bit of a news cycle moment here in LA because there's these like fires happening with crazy winds. So we're having some extreme weather. And I want to just talk about all of this together. And I want to first show you, this is like what I think of as LA. I have my red bits as places of interest that a traveler might care about. As you can see, LA is like specifically nestled in this like basin between the Santa Monica mountain range, which is this bit here, and the Santa Monica Bay, the ocean, Pacific Ocean. The city should just be called Santa Monica, let's be honest. Well, that's debatable. I shouldn't say that. And there is a city called Santa Monica, and that's this western part. The fires that are happening, they are happening in LA County for sure. The Pacific Palisades, there's a fire right here. You can see how green this is here. This is nature. This is like, this is nature. These are mountains. When you see this kind of range within a city, and you can see all the buildings abut right into the foothills of this range, nothing's built there because nothing can really be built there. I think we might have done by now if we could. And because we can't build there, there's actual nature like trees. And I'm just going to say, I don't know if this comes off as a political point, like, why are we allowing these fires? And that's not to say that you shouldn't throw your cigarette butts out in the forest. Obviously, that's common sense. I'm not sure, but it feels like we're not regulating our upkeep of the mountains well enough, because this is just wind, and wind carries fire, but fire starts from a tinder, like from brush that I feel like we're not clearing. So I just want to say that, politically speaking, like, we need to be more proactive about clearing brush so that fires cannot become so devastating. There was a bill that passed on the last measure, a measure from November's election it was phrased as a climate action, global warming kind of measure, and I actually voted for it. I thought the language was a bit incendiary, but it's true that we need to spend money to master the environment better. Like, we have the ability to do that. We've done it for a long time. And I want to just phrase this in such a way that empowers humankind. We are not at the mercy of Mother Nature. We can control Mother Nature. Sure, we cannot predict an earthquake or prevent an earthquake. That's beyond our control. And I think that we should keep that in mind, that an earthquake has nothing to really do with carbon dioxide, for instance. And yet we have ways to master earthquakes through technology, right? We can retrofit buildings so that when they shake, there's enough give there so that they don't crumble. You know what I mean? So it's the same with fires. It's the same with air quality. Like, we can do things about that, and I think we should. There's a way to do that without being alarmist about climate change, for instance. But anyways, I wanted to just show that the fires are happening over here. There's 3 fires right now when I look at my Google Maps. There's the Palisades fire, which is here. And again, this does affect people, but it's mostly like rich people, very, very wealthy people who have the privilege of living in the mountainside looking at the Pacific Ocean. Honestly, I know it sounds very insensitive, but we should all be so lucky that we need to evacuate a fire right now, because those are very wealthy, nice houses. Same over here in Pasadena. This Eaton Canyon is a nice hike. So there's a fire here. It's too bad. This is a nice area, again, of rich people. But you can see, and then there's a third one up here, this Hearst fire. This is at the very top of the San Fernando Valley. This is less rich. And that's the true outskirts of LA Metro. What they all have in common is that none of them are like in LA proper. You know, so you have one over here in the mountains. You have one beyond the Santa Monica Mountains in the actual San Gabriel Mountains over here. This is Eaton Canyon, this green bit. And then you have one all the way up here, also kind of in Angeles Forest, San Gabriel Mountains. You know, Southern California is defined by these transverse mountain ranges that go left to right versus the rest of California and most of the world where they go upwards, north-south. So you can see like California is defined by this valley surrounded by the Sierra Nevada on the east side and these coastal ranges on the west side. Most of this coast is sparsely populated because of all the mountains. California is very mountainous. And Southern California is especially mountainous, but people don't live in the mountains. They live in the basin and the valleys. So LA is specifically there. So my whole point here is that LA is not literally being burned down, right? But I wanted to watch this news story. I think it's pretty interesting how this is being covered. This is the first one I clicked on, so I'm just going to click on it again. Here you can see my general viewing habits. But I clicked on this third one for breaking news. This is from Bloomberg, which is a reputable company. And this is a 3-minute clip I want to analyze.
It's going to be very difficult for firefighters to get a handle on these fires until the winds abate, and they have not really abated. The worst of them may be past us, but that is not 100% sure.
The way he, his inflections on these words. Okay, all he's saying is that the winds are too crazy. We can't like really do anything within the winds. Fair enough. But he's making it sound as if we should try to be doing that. Like you're not going to be able to deal with a fire when the winds are blowing this hard. The way he says the worst might be past us, but we don't know for sure. It's like it feels so helpless and like victimhoody, you know, to be like you could easily say this in a more calming and securing way. You could easily say, look, we have intense winds. We knew these winds were coming. It's really unfortunate that a fire has started. This happens in California where you have to wait it out. We anticipate that the winds will end by the end of this week. So we have a few days that we really need to focus on. Like you could say that in so much more of a empowering leadership way, but he's saying it in a kind of fear-mongering way, in my opinion. Listen to it again.
It's going to be very difficult for firefighters to get a handle on these fires until the winds abate, and they have not really abated.
But we know they haven't abated today. Like it's Wednesday. I had a severe wind warning yesterday for the next 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday. So this is how the news cycle works. We're pinpointing this like apex of disaster, and we're treating it like the sky is falling.
Worst of them may be past us, but that is not 100% sure.
It could be 99% sure. Like saying it's not 100% sure. And I'm not saying it is 99% sure. It could be 40% sure, but like we have some knowledge through science and weather predictions that at some point we'll be able to contain these fires because the wind will abate.
This windstorm event is supposed to last into Thursday, maybe into Friday.
So look at this clip that they're showing here. This is in the Palisades, I think. This is such a funny angle. We're showing a fire which is creating a lot of smoke and a house, right? Where's the context here? Like I would love a zoom out, you know, like this is framed to create the maximum amount of fear and concern, I think.
There's the possibility of another windstorm coming in early next week with no rain in between.
Okay, so the way he says that, there's a possibility of another windstorm with no rain. Like, okay, fine. You know what I mean? Like, we know that kind of stuff. That's why we should use our information to help control and create predictable outcomes. You know, if you know that, clear out all the brush, you know, do a controlled burn, for instance. the way it's said is like this, like, oh my gosh, we're at the whims, we're at the mercy of nature. It can destroy us all.
Give us a sense geographically, David, of where this is happening and how close it's getting to areas of LA that.
So I really like this question by the host. You know, like, he's asking what I'm asking. Like, can we contextualize this, please? Like, if you show me this, like, is this right by the LACMA, for instance? Is this in Hollywood? If I'm a layperson, what do I know? Like, this could literally be, you know, 1 block north of the Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard.
A lot of people know. I mean, the Palisades are it's an area on a lot of tours. People know obviously the pier in Santa Monica. Where are you most concerned about?
Most concerned about Palisades, Malibu, which is downwind of the Palisades.
Like, Malibu for sure. Another beautiful area that we should all be so fortunate to live in. This is Malibu. Rich people live here. It gets attention. It's very sparsely populated. Like, this whole section, you know, this red bit right here is the Getty Villa. That's like the furthest westward point on a tourist's map. Or Point Doom. This is beautiful if you want to drive the Pacific Coast Highway out to here. From here to here, all of this, in terms of people, is equivalent to like my neighborhood. Like, I think there's more people in Echo Park. I know there is. There's like 40,000 people right here in Echo Park. Another 40,000 in Silver Lake. There's like 5,000. So this is like very small, just population wise. Just to put that in perspective, I know it's not good that Malibu might burn. I mean, it's wilderness mostly, you know. Malibu, look, it's these enclaves of, you know, people with means. Pepperdine University. There isn't a lot happening out here besides like the good life. I don't mean to downplay, like, they should evacuate, be safe, have insurance, like, do what you need to do. My point isn't to downplay the extent of how it can affect a human being. My point is to downplay the effects it's having on Los Angeles as a city, because LA City is way over here. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to say that.
Fire is burning right towards there. They had a bad fire back in December that sort of presaged all of this. But I'm also very, very concerned about Pasadena. When you look to sort of the northeast of downtown LA, Pasadena has a major fire on its hands.
Again, this image, it's so close up, like, this could be anywhere and this could be a single house, you know, but if you zoom in and you make it look like your whole screen is burning red, like, that's scary. So it gets headlines, it looks insane, but I mean, if this was like the Unabomber's house in the middle of Wyoming, you know what I mean? Like, for context, is this a threat to civilization?
Just got an update from CAL FIRE on the size of that one. It is now past 10,000 acres, and it is burning right into the edge of that city.
So I'm glad he's at least admitting that it's the edge of the city. 10,000 acres is not helpful at all. I don't even know how big an acre is, but like, if all of this was red, it would affect like 10 people, you know? I mean, I don't know how many people live in the rural wilderness here in the Angeles Crest, but the point is that, like, you have cities like Pasadena here, which is really just a wealthy enclave of LA. It's between the mountains. It's between the Verdugo Mountains here and the San Gabriel Mountains. You have Glendale here, for instance, and my girlfriend's family is here and their power's out. You have all these mountains. Like, you can see how this is like a wind tunnel. You know, wind whips right through here between the Verdugos and Griffith Park. So it's affecting communities of LA for sure. But the fires, he's saying, I mean, the 10,000 acres surely go into the canyons this way. They're not coming into people's homes here. Like, the Altadena golf course is not burning down. You know what I mean? It's the Henninger Flats that are like on fire, really. So again, not to be alarmist or anything, but sorry, not to not to be too stoic, but the alarmism is uncalled for. I think look, it's newsworthy, but I think that we need the perspective.
beautiful place if you've been there. It's nestled right up against the San Gabriel Mountains, but that's part of the problem here. These winds are racing down the mountains. And
I don't like how he says that. It's part of the problem. Like, humans shouldn't be building homes into the mountains. Like, come on. It's natural that foothills become populated because it's beautiful views and it's like a natural sense of protection. It's not the problem here. The problem is not clearing brush, not minding how you start fires with, a stove or a cigarette. That's the problem. Building civilization that abuts nature is not a problem.
just tearing through that area, we don't know what's
tearing through that area. Like, again, show me a helicopter view so I can see all of this together. That's what I need to see. This view is totally unhelpful.
sparked that fire, but now that it is going, it is raging there, and I am very concerned about that spot.
Well, very concerning indeed, and obviously our thoughts are with everyone who are in these areas in which they may find themselves in danger. As we think about how ultimately these fires will be brought under control, it's not just whether or not the winds calm down, but of course water and other things.
This is definitely a better view, but as you can see, like, this is wilderness. There's no civilization that we can see with this.
That it will take to actually fight the flames. There has been a lot of criticism thrown out today, David, by the president-elect Donald Trump, by Elon Musk, for example, about decisions Gavin Newsom has made when it comes to water. Trump specifically saying that he refused to sign a water restoration declaration that would have allowed access.
So that one clip, I'll come back to what she's saying, but here you can see some civilization. So we're looking I think this is being taken, like, this is like photojournalism 101 to we all are taught as photographers that every photo you take is edited in the sense of you aiming your composition and excluding other information. Like, why would you not show some context here? Like, it looks like this helicopter is way over here in the mountains and it's shooting toward the city, which is, there's a big billowing smoke here. It looks like those fires are in between ridges here, like right here, for instance, and that you're facing the city so you can see bits of the city, but we can't tell how much the fire is creeping toward the city from this angle. It's not taken from the city looking at the mountains with the fire coming at you. It's looking from beyond the mountains, way with the city in the distance, and you can't see if the fire is climbing over those valleys.
About decisions Gavin Newsom has made when it comes to water. Trump specifically saying that he refused to sign a water restoration.
So to me, like, the most alarming thing about this obviously is the smoke, because, I think more so than worrying about LA burning down, it's like the inhalation of all this smoke. And I just walked my dog and it was smoky, and I just handed some masks out to some workers here because you can feel that there is smoke in the air, and so that's bad. So it's like, in a way, I wish it was like, stay home and stay indoors because the air quality is bad. Like, that's the real issue right now. And it would be I think the public service message for public health is to mind your respiration with this kind of smoke.
Declaration that would have allowed access to millions of gallons of water. Can you just walk us through the extent? Now,
she's getting into the politics and the policy. I don't have a comment yet on water usage. We were just told that it's pointless to try and dump water on this because you're not going to contain it with these winds. And now she's kind of criticizing, or she's bringing up this critique of the Trump admin and Elon. If a scientist tells me that there's no use in trying to douse this with water, then why are we even worrying about being allowed to access the water?
To which that is true, or if it's playing any real role in the attempts to fight these fires?
With these fires, when they erupt, the state throws pretty much every resource it has at them. In terms of access to water, I have not heard any on-the-ground reports about problems.
Okay, now we're actually seeing, this is what I want to see. This is the actual destruction happening to civilization. So this is good to see, and this is very unfortunate to see. These are still foothills. I don't want to downplay it at all. It's bad. So again, like if I lived in these houses, I would be absolutely voting to manage the forests so that not everything just gets incinerated. You know what I mean? Like, we have the ability to do that. We've done it before. So like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of a book that I've read recently called Fossil Future. It was comparing Australia and California and how these are two places that are experiencing insane wildfires lately in the last several years, and that there are also two places with very progressive governments that have a very, let's leave nature alone kind of attitude. So I'm concerned that we're just not doing enough to prevent this from a prevention point of view.
Problems with getting access to water. I have not heard any on-the-ground reports about problems with getting access to water. Plus, the state does actually have and is using tankers that fly out over the ocean, scoop up water, and just dump it where it's needed. We know
that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, and again, like Trump, I don't think that Trump needs to enter this conversation. A, he's not president. B, California is fine on its own. Like, California can decide what it does. California makes more money than America. California funds the rest of the country. California does not need federal funding. It helps, but part of that federal funding was ours in the first place that we've already given to the federal government. I like that this guy is saying, like, yeah, we can just use our own helicopters and pick up the water from the ocean and dump it on there. It doesn't have to be fresh water. That would be such a waste. Just dump ocean water on it.
They were in use yesterday. We saw them flying off the coast of Santa Monica. So we know those are...
This is finally a decent view we're getting.
And, with fires like this, once they get...
Why did it take them so long to zoom out? Like, why... If I'm directing this news clip, like, start with the zoom out, orient us somehow so we know what direction we're looking in, and then start showing us the information.
The big issue is how much water actually fell from the sky in the last 6 months before the fires started. Here in Southern California, you're seeing virtually no rain since early last spring. Whereas in Northern California, where I am, we've had atmospheric rivers and even a little bit of flooding. They've had nothing down there, and that's the big issue here.
Okay, so yeah, I might go back to watching video games and baseball stuff. But yeah, I find it interesting. I'm just going to give this one more a chance.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on CBS News 24/7. I'm Lindsay Reiser, and we are tracking extremely dangerous and unhealthy conditions in Southern...
This language, this tone of voice, like this map even, which like they basically just highlighted all of Southern California. They left off coastal San Diego where people live. But all of this is mountains, except for that part I was showing you. Like from up here in this pink area, from up here, all of this is mountains. And like what they did here with San Diego, like they should do that here with the LA Basin, Orange County. Like I don't think that Newport Beach is at risk of burning down. You know what I mean? Like if you look at this, I don't know, like you have here, like by San Clemente, you have these mountains here, the Santa Ana Mountains, like those could catch fire. But in general, like all of this urban density is, look, we should protect it. It could burn, my house is made of wood. I'm not saying like bring it on, who cares, we're not at risk. That's not my point. My point is like, can we stop being so alarmist about this?
Southern California, where multiple wildfires continue to burn out of control. 4 major fires are raging with little or no containment in the Los Angeles area. They are being fueled by high winds. They are having this gigantic windstorm. And the fires have been named the Palisades Fire, which is west of LA, the Eden Fire, northeast of the city, and the Hearst and Woodland Fires in the...
Okay, so they're doing a better job of contextualizing it, which is good. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I don't have more to say. I'm obviously not cheering for the fire. I want us to contain the fire. I get annoyed when people lack the context. Sorry, not when someone like you lacks the context. When when news sources aren't providing the right amount of context. So that annoys me. I wanted to try and help with that. Again, LA is at risk. We're surrounded by nature, and nature is dangerous. I don't know if you guys forgot that, but if you lived 10,000 years ago, it might not be full of plumbing and electricity and clothing. So I guess I'm a proponent of humankind mastering nature, and I think it's kind of sad and pathetic that this is an example of us not doing that. And we don't know enough of how this is happening or why, but if I'm a politician, I'm studying this on a policy level. Like, we know wildfires happen. We know that we have droughts. We know that there can be high winds. We know that there are earthquakes. So let's do something about it. You know what I mean? Let's do preventative things so that a bunch of houses don't get burned down and people's lives are lost. So anyways, that's my point, and I'll leave it there. More geography and urbanism coming soon. Ciao.